Like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing.
Like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
Just apologize,
Dear
we got
Lord,
some technical things going on.
please give us
Just
the
gonna ignore
grace
it,
to
keep
be
going.
understanding.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please give us the grace.
The number of the application of which you are speaking on the form. The yellow forms can be found at the podium by the door. If representing an organization, a letter of authorization must accompany the speaker. Comments will be limited to the topics being heard, so please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the tape record. Now, at this time, I'm going to open the podium up to the public for an opportunity for you to come forward to address the commission on any issues that you have other than any of the applications that we're hearing today. So if you don't have anything besides the application that we're hearing today, you can please come to the podium and speak to us. Anyone? All right, seeing none, at this time, I'll close the public portion of the meeting down. We don't have any minutes to approve. So do we have any staff announcements?
No, thank you.
All right, how about the ex parte communications, Madam Attorney?
Good morning, Commissioners. With regard to the applications on the agenda today, do you have any ex parte communications you'd like to disclose? And we'll start at the end with Mr. Shera.
Site visits.
None.
Site visits.
None.
None. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. All right, at this time, it's time for application CPA/AA/PUD-2024-00008 for local engineering and Veer Real Estate. If we
Thank
can
you.
get the staff introduction, please.
This application proposes to amend the future land use map and LDC Atlas map for a new RV park. The site is 44 acres in size and lies on the west side of US 19 in Homosassa. The site is currently designated as GNC, MHP, LDR, and CL, and would change to RVP and GNC for 142 RV sites and a commercial area. The application would remove this existing non-conforming mobile home park. The proposed RV park entrance would improve and use this existing access easement to US 19. This is part of the interior of the site as viewed from the access easement. This is the existing motel on site. This is looking south on US 19 with the proposed access road in this photo. This is the master plan proposed by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Get the applicant come forward and make the presentation.
I can't Google. I can't Google. I gotta use this one. You want me to download it for you?
No, I was just trying to get the music. I got it. Or the,
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Mike Wilburn, Local Engineering, Inc., address P.O. Box 938, Floral City, Florida. A portion of this project appeared before this board in May 2023, slightly different, and so I'd like to first outline how this project before you is different than the previous one. This board in May of 2023 voted to approve the project. However, in August, the VOCC voted to deny. Testing.
thank you.
So how's this project different? The previous proposal did not include the mobile home park or the existing motel. That was discussed, but it was going to be something that the applicant brought back at a later date as a different or additional phase to this project. The vacant property to the south that you see from this roadway south was what was previously brought before you guys that you guys approved. However, at the county commission, the existing mobile home park came up and was a major issue, citing crime and other concerns about the existing mobile home park and not knowing at what time in the future that would be changed, revised into a part of this project, and if there was anything binding that would require it to be so. And so we have revised this project to include the mobile home park being removed and leaving the motel, as you can see on the site plan. The existing motel currently has access off of 19, and it is what is being proposed to change to a GNC zoning on 2 acres. This is where the existing the existing 11-unit motel is now. The mobile home park that exists is over this area here, which is north of this entrance road that was discussed and shown in the pictures. And so this PUD that you have before you incorporates all components of this property contiguous with the ownership. So the first change is that the mobile home park would now be included. Second change would be that the property where the where the 11-unit motel is, would be changed to GNC, which is consistent with the other areas along 19 in that region. The third difference is the previous project was tying into the force main that the county owns on 19. However, at this time, the utility division has told us and other projects in this area that they do not have capacity to serve the project. And so we went back to a design engineer who designed the existing treatment facility for the motel and the mobile home park, which is right here. It is discussed in the staff report. And so in your packet on this left side, we've basically included a summary that the existing design, which is permitted and maintained on an annual basis, can hold up to 143 units with the existing motel remaining in place. And so our submittal is 1 unit less than that, 142. There will be no expansion required of that existing treatment facility that you see, but it would be there until the county had capacity. We have a 25-foot setback from any wetlands on site. We're not proposing to do any type of mitigation, and as the staff report mentions, we are also excluding from now this new application a large portion of wetlands that was previously included. So this is a request to change 44 acres from various designations and allow for the continued use of the 11-unit motel on US 19 and allow for a new RV park on the remainder of the property to the west of the motel and to the south. This project is requesting a total of 142 units and keep the 11-unit motel as in existence and change that land use where it sits, approximately 2 acres, to GNC. Like I said before, we're making no impacts to any wetlands, no mitigation. We are further extending the 25-foot setback, as you can see here, by mostly putting all of the retention areas along that 25-foot barrier from the wetlands. The project meets or exceeds all of the required buffers. There's a chart in the staff report that go over that and show how we're meeting or exceeding. Each unit is requesting to have a 5x5 shed, which is something that is common in RV park requests. And that would be something that would be on each individual site as an option. Other amenities on this site plan, which changed or were revised from previously submitted, is there are 2 now recreation buildings. One is 1,200 square feet in this region right here, the other being 1,800 square feet here. There's also 4 pickleball courts and about a ½ acre of open green space athletic field. In addition to that, there's almost 3/4 of a mile of 5-foot wide walking trail around the perimeter of the retention areas that you see. The roadways that you see are also 4 feet wider than are required and can also serve as walking or looping trails for pedestrians. The only deviation, which I would like to seek clarification on, that this project is requesting is that we have the requirement for bathhouses be removed. The staff report mentions this, that it's common and typical for new RV parks to request relief from that. However, in the conditions, number 4, it talks about the requirement for them, and then the last sentence says a toilet, washroom, and or bath facility is not required. And I just want to clarify, is that stating that it's not part of the conditions?
It's stating it would not be required if this is approved.
Perfect. Then I have no, me or the client has no issues with any of the conditions. And like I said before, the only deviation from the LDC this project is requesting is that bathhouse requirement, which is something this board has, and the County Commission Board has seen fit to approve on previous projects. What questions can I answer?
Does staff have any questions for the applicant?
Just one, and I think you just said it, and just to clarify, so you're doing a 24-foot wide access from 19 and at least a 20-foot wide access for the two-way traffic throughout the park,
All
right?
of the roadways that you see there are 24 to 26 wide, yes.
Okay, thank you, and you had no concerns with the other conditions.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Shara.
good morning.
Morning.
You made a comment, and I think, just for clarification, you had said that the mobile home park would be included.
Correct.
Will there still be mobile homes in there, or will this be exclusively an RV park?
There are no mobile homes proposed.
So this will be exclusively an RV park?
And I think-
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think the staff report, I don't remember the numbers, but there's an approved allotment for mobile homes that we're removing. The existing flow from sewage is a decrease. I can't remember, but it's in the staff report. What's it? Oh, here we go. 61 mobile home sites are approved now with 12 RV. This proposal has 0 mobile home.
Good, thank you. The other question, you were discussing the roads within the RV park. Will those be paved or gravel?
They're all asphalt.
No, they all will be paved.
Yeah.
So what we see now from a site visit when you travel, one of the pictures in your presentation, it looks like there's a 3 to 4 inch pipeline that sits on top of the ground supported by concrete blocks. I assume that to be a sewer line, but I don't know that for sure. So my question is, will all the utilities be buried?
They're going to have to be. And that was some of the challenge with the previous design with putting that off until a future time period. But since you raised the question, I would love to answer. The beauty of this project, now that the mobile homes are coming out, we no longer have to worry about existing cleanouts. We no longer have to worry about existing drain lines being gravitied to that wastewater treatment. Every pipe, everything will be completely new up to the intake at the treatment plant. So yes, it'll all meet the current standards because all the existing has to come out.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the Commissioner Facemeyer?
Dr. Wilborn, you mentioned when you went before the county commission, the raised the question about crime. Can you just address where we are with that? Have you done any research or?
Yes, so following that meeting, there was quite a few meetings that took place with staff, but also with attorneys, and we requested information from that particular commissioner, and there was issues with that. However, most of the concerns were older in nature, and so we actually felt post-meeting that some of those concerns were probably unwarranted. We didn't expect them, was completely surprised by them at the time. We followed up with on staff, there's somebody there all the time, supervisor of the hotel. And so we followed up with that. We also followed up with police reports, and we didn't see a increase on this site than other mobile home parks in our county, specifically in this area either. But again, I feel like that's a moot point if those concerns raised by the commissioner, I believe, are completely resolved now with the mobile home park being removed. Her main concern was if we approve a 95-unit RV park next to a criminal-infested mobile home park, that it won't be long before the RV park goes south, and there was no way to protect that. So this is designed as a higher-end RV park. All the sizes are larger. There's different amenities here. This is not the typical project that I think she was anticipating, and couple that with mobile home crime, I think is just where her concern was, and the project got derailed at that moment. So we regrouped, and the owners who are here today, the owners regrouped and decided, hey, we'll go ahead and show them that this is a top-notch project from start to finish and include the mobile home park.
Thank you.
All right.
Chair.
Commissioner Worthington.
Michael, when you spoke about this, I was like very confused about the crime thing being, and the more you talk, it's confusing. Did someone testify that there was crime, or was this driven by a commissioner?
It was solely, I don't want to say anything wrong, but it was a commissioner who, I didn't get to see the paper at the time, had a paper up and read some statistics that we later came to find out were older in nature. But it was during the commissioner discussion. It wasn't a public testimony.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Bramlett.
So, Bellevilla Mobile Home Park, been there forever. Been there as long as I can remember. Definitely not one of the higher-end living facilities or residential areas in the county, but it facilitates a need. There's people that live there and have lived there for quite some time. I just want to know what kind of plan is in place. What do the owners intend to do with the amount of people that would be displaced there? What kind of timeline would they be given? Has there been any thought put into any of that?
Yes, and I think some of that's already started happening as they are transitioning this project. Their leases for the existing mobiles haven't been renewed or aren't being renewed as they come available, so they're getting 60 to 90 day heads up ahead of time. I thought it said in the staff report, I think it's 1970s when that thing was constructed. I can't see it right now. But yes, they all have leases. They're currently working through the 1975. It says it got vested rights. Some of them are already vacated. Some of them have been removed, and will continue to do so until they're done.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple.
All right.
Just curiosity's sake, was the site impacted by Helene?
Probably similar to others in the area.
Okay. Is there going to be emergency access for this facility?
In terms of fire and ambulance?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, all those roads are meet the standard of accessibility for all emergency utility vehicles.
And you stated that the roads are going to be 24 to 26 feet throughout the development?
That's correct.
Okay. And you also made a comment, I believe, that you said all the parcels would be, or all the site will be 25 feet from wetlands?
Yes.
Looking in the southwest and the south area, it looks like you're pretty close to the wetlands there. And I believe the condition, number 6, says that you have to meet the 35-foot wetland setback.
Yep.
So which are we looking at, 25 feet or 35 feet?
So, do you guys mind if I walk over here?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
please. Thank you.
I don't know if
Try to maybe bring that mic closer, or that mic maybe? Sorry, we record them, so.
In your staff report, I don't know if you have this site plan, I'm sure it's smaller, but you'll see these lines that have the circles attached to them. That is the wetland line. And then you'll see a green line that is 25-foot offset from that. And so the green line is 25 feet away. And then you'll see that there's another 5 feet before the start of most of the pond areas, which is what I mentioned earlier as the walking trail. And then you'll see that in most cases, there's even further distance before any of the RV parcels start. So this one is the absolute closest. It's the only 3 spots that are the closest to this wetland. As you can see from everywhere else, there's a pond separating. And this is 35 feet from the line of that lot line to the wetland.
Okay.
But there's only 3 where that minimum is. Everywhere else is significantly more than that.
Okay. I believe you said that there's gonna be the 2 recreation buildings. Are both of those buildings gonna be, built 1 foot above base flood elevation for?
Yes, the staff report mentions that also. Those buildings are assembly occupancy and have to be 1 foot above flood.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike.
All right, Michael, I got a couple questions. Of course, mine's gonna lead to the treatment sewer plant and the sewer. Can you tell me when that sewer plant was installed?
I cannot, but I believe, just going off of memory, it was expanded in the mid-90s, and I believe George McDonald did the design. And I don't have that site in front of me, but the capacity that's stated on the left summary was designed exactly for what was approved by the state. For the vesting, I should say, which is mentioned in the staff report.
How many sites are gonna be on this?
There's 140.
In with this treatment plant, including the hotel?
Yeah, there's 142 sites based on 75 gallons a day flow, which is the state flow rate with the safety factor, and then that maintains the existing 11 motel units. And the client hired an environmental engineer to do that. I don't usually get into that. I just reported the summary from those findings.
We don't have in our package, we don't have anything from that environmental company.
The only thing
other
you have
than-
is that narrative right there in the box on the site plan, which shows the capacity, how it was originally designed, what the total flow that this is designed for, and then basically what the proposed flow rate is and how it's less.
And it doesn't indicate the number of units that could, or how many sites could hold that tank. It doesn't tell us the height of that, the thickness of the walls, the things
You don't
that are
have anything
important.
like that, no.
The things that are important to me, as being an environmental person, looking at, you can't go to the sewer system right now, and you're gonna use a treatment plant that's somewhat, in my opinion, from my site visit, is somewhat outdated. And I couldn't find anything on record that had been updated in the 1990s, so that's new to me there. But I don't know, that little box on the side doesn't convince me to go in favor. So if that's all we have, I'll just be straight up with you. I'm not in favor of this application because of the treatment plant, because I don't think it's adequate for the number of units. We have no documentation to show that it's adequate. A little box doesn't help me at all. I'd like to see, specs, and I'm sure the county commissioners would respect that and want to see the same thing, because we're increasing the number of sites. So we're increasing the number of people. We're increasing, your sewers, everything's being increased to go into the same square footage, the same capacity of the treatment plant.
So I think that's where I would just interject we're not increasing, we're actually decreasing, because those 55 mobiles or however many there are, most of them are 2 and 3 bedroom, which have a crazy high flow rate compared to a single RV unit. And so that's what the engineering report summarized, and that's what I put in that box there. There's not an increase, it's actually a decrease.
Yeah, but we don't know how many bathrooms are in each of those mobile homes.
No, but we have the state designed 75 gallons a day flow out of RV.
I'm all familiar with that, but without that, I wouldn't be in favor. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I ask a follow-up question, please?
Sure, Commissioner Bass.
So I think you said that the existing tank is 12,500 gallon capacity. I think that's what I read someplace or saw someplace. How much capacity are you using with the 11 hotel units and the number of RV units? How close are you to the full capacity of that sewage system?
Total design flow is approximately 12,700. Total proposed flow is about 12,100. That's approximate.
Right. Do you feel comfortable then with only 400 gallons of surplus capacity?
Yeah, the state actually allows for an increase of 20% modification without changing that design, because in the gallons of flow, they have about a three-time safety factor.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Worthington.
Dr. Wilburn, if I'm trying to understand this, it says concurrency has to be met, and one of the conditions for approval is that you will have central potable water and sanitary sewer. That would have to be approved and up to code and all of that. So if this was approved and there was some sort of issue with this system, you would have to have it corrected in order to open or do anything anyway, correct?
To receive a permit, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Share.
I was going to hold this question till the staff report, but it's on the table. So the sewer was one of my number one issues, the sewer system. So the question would be, if you flip this around and you came in with if you had come in with an application saying you were going to design a wastewater treatment system, since there was no capacity available with the county, you would be obligated under certain permitting levels and let me say it this way, under certain permits to design a system that is fully functional and certified. So my question would be, who certifies private wastewater treatment systems? Who inspects them? How often are they inspected? And at that point, if there's any failure to meet those standards, then the obligation goes back to the owner. But tell us more about this wastewater, because clearly this is going to be an issue.
That treatment plant, just like any one that was designed, and first of all, I guess I'll go to your first question, it would have to be designed by an environmental engineer who is competent in that. It would have to be approved by the state. As part of the approval by the state, you would have to have this inspected annually. This particular system costs the owner about $12,000 a year in maintenance and upkeep, and it has to file every year. Matter of fact, I believe this unit, as well as any new unit, would have to file quarterly that it's being maintained properly, and then you have an annual filing inspection that has to occur. And then I believe every 2 years there is a higher regimented inspection that takes place. So you asked about the design, you asked about the upkeep, and you asked about the oversight. So it's going to be inspected by the state. There's probably 3 inspections from a new one to the time it's completed and finalized out. That's conducted by Environmental Health Department, as well as the engineer of record certifying the as-built. So there's 2 parties that would inspect it throughout the design or throughout the construction, and then it has to be certified by an engineer, I believe, on a quarterly and annual basis.
Does this project have a reserve account or other financial structure that should there be a failure or should there be an issue with this wastewater treatment, that there are funds available for to repair, maintain, or update that
Sure.
system?
I don't want to necessarily speak for the client, but I would say that, yes, there's plenty of capital, there's plenty of liquidity. Like you said, the mobile home park's been there for a long time with a great cash flow, so I think the project is viable, and any maintenance required would also be, yes.
And the state is the regulating agency that
That's correct.
certifies this
Environmental Health
particular
Department.
system.
Yes.
And it would have to be inspected and certified before being placed in service?
Like I said, I think it's inspected 3 times throughout the construction, but yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
And we get the staff to come forward to make their staff presentation, please.
I had been thinking that he answered all my questions, but then we had a lot of follow-ups, so no problem. I'll try to answer as many of those as I can. So this is the application site. You did see this before.
Joanne, can you speak in the other microphone, please?
You're right. I heard him say that. Boy, what a difference. Sorry. This is the application site. You did see this application before. This is an old vested, it was vested in 1975, which means in 1975 it was already in place. So it is quite an older park there. And then quite a bit of area outside of it. And you can see in this aerial, the cleared area where the sewer plant is. So this is the land uses. The existing motel is actually a non-conforming use in the MHP district. We also have some GNC that's going to be removed up there on 19, and then some low-density residential and some coastal lakes. And then behind it, you do have the wetlands that Dr. Wilburn discussed. So this is the site plan. I'm going to zoom into it a little bit more. But he is proposing quite a bit different from what you saw before. Besides adding that, he's got quite a lot of setback to the conservation area to the west. That's certainly good. You can see in the staff report the change in buffers. They are much larger now than they were originally. Before there were some deviations, there's now not. I heard him say the 25-foot wetland that one of you guys picked up on as well. The condition is 35-foot wetland to RV sites and structures, which is being met by this application, and that's what's required. Making that setback to the top of a DRA is not required, but it sounds like he's very, very close to that, if not at that. So this, although it says RV park, it actually is approved as a mobile home park with the state of Florida and with the county, and it is proposed for removal. Our comp plan says that you cannot have new mobile home parks or expanded mobile home parks in the coastal high hazard area. So removing this is actually helping our comp plan. This is kind of what we want, is these old non-conforming that do not meet code to go away. You'll see in condition 1, there is a line at the end. The applicant must comply with all applicable Florida statutes regarding removal of the existing Belle Villa mobile home park. There are specific statutes that Mr. Bramlett touched on for removal of old vested mobile home parks, and the applicant will be required by statute to do that. That includes provisions for how to relocate and how to provide other housing for people that might be there. So this is part of the area that's vacant right now, looking back towards some of the mobile homes. This is from 19. And this is the actual park themselves, although some of the questions I'll talk about a little bit. So condition number 5 says central potable water and sanitary sewer shall be provided. It does not say who. So the applicant is proposing to use that sewer plant. They can do that. That is central sewer. That does meet that criteria. But if for some reason there is some problem with it, for whatever reason that you guys have talked about with capacity, they can connect to the county. This gives them ability to do central, period. Now, one thing is y'all are looking at land use. You're looking at whether a mobile home park is RV park is appropriate here. But they also have to provide documentation of utilities, but that's at the time of permitting. That's not at this stage. They normally do not give us that detailed analysis that Mr. Barnes is touching on, which I appreciate because I couldn't read it and you obviously could. But at the time of permitting, they're going to have to show that. They're going to have to show they have adequate capacity. These lines are going to have to be inspected, and it's going to have to make sure it works. If it doesn't work, they're going to have to find an alternative before they can get a permit and open up this park. This park can't just open once the zoning is approved. They have to go through quite a bit of permitting for that. I think that's probably all I have to say, other than they are meeting a lot of setbacks. They're meeting all LDC requirements other than the bathhouse, which you've heard a lot of parks nowadays. We probably need to take that out of the code, frankly. The motel is proposed to stay. and that's a GNC, but it is for any GNC uses. So the change in the land development code to prohibit such things as car washes and anything that might impact the environment in the coastal high hazard area is still in play. So if they want to do a mini storage here, they don't have any plans of that, they would have to come before you and the commission for a PUD. I think that's it. This is the existing driveway that they're going to upgrade. This was actually proposed in the previous application as well. And this is what it looks like right now. So it is going to require a lot of upgrade. Most of those roads out there, those drives, are probably going to come out and be redone. They're in pretty poor shape because of the age of the park. And this is looking at the park. Like I said, these are not obviously 24-foot wide, not meeting any kind of code. A vacant site, these are kind of what they look like underneath. So they're probably, I expect they're starting from scratch on most of the development. And this is a pipe that talked about, that's going to go away according to Dr. Wilburn, and we're going to have something that actually meets current standards for plants. And this is the site plan. So you have the conditions. There are some vacant areas here, so they are going to have to provide us a biological survey if there's any protected species. They did ask for the 5x5 shed. That would be part of permitting for the RV park itself. That's not unusual. Our code allows up to 60 square feet shed if they ask for it on an RV site. That's all I have.
Thank you. Michael, do you have any questions for staff? Does the board have any questions for staff?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
On condition number 9, you state the applicant will need to construct a 24-foot wide access from US 19 to the entrance of the RV park. Then it says pavement for all access drives will need to be a minimum of 20 feet for two-way traffic. The applicant has stated that all roads will be 24 to 26 feet. Can we revise this applicant, or this condition to take out that second sentence?
I think if we take it off, we've let him do whatever width he wants in interior. We can say, the engineering said 20 feet, but if we can say a minimum of 20 feet for two-way traffic, but will be 24 feet as pro-offered by the applicant, that works. Our code doesn't require it, but he's offering it.
Right, I just want to make sure that we end up with at least a 24-foot wide roads throughout the entire project.
Right, and right now we do have the 20-foot wide minimum, but he's offering 24.
Right, I just want to make sure when it finally gets to permitting
Okay
that
with
it
that?
actually is there.
Okay, so we can put, will be 24-foot wide as pro-offered by the applicant, that's
Great,
fine.
thank
I
you.
just want to make it clear, our code doesn't require that, but he's
Right.
offering.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
That's it.
Chair,
Commissioner Shara.
good morning, Joanna.
Good morning.
We've stated several times, or heard stated, that the applicant meets the buffering requirements. And on page 48, if you go back to page 48, on the north side, which I realize right now is wooded and then there's an industrial area, it shows that the proposed is undisturbed wetlands 80 feet plus at the closest point as compared to a 10-foot type B. So you find that to be acceptable, that there's the natural buffer that's there, heavily wooded. And
Right.
do we need to have a comment that that buffer will not be intruded on or
He
built
has,
upon?
he has to comply with this master plan, so we can't actually put anything outside this master plan anyway. This is actually bordering on industrial, which is more intense, so really that's why it's only 10 feet, because he's doing something much less than industrial. But he has to comply with the master plan, which has the nothing in that area, so he'd have to come back before you to do something more.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Commissioner.
Second question? I'm sorry, I
Go ahead.
forgot the one.
Thought it was getting off easy with you, okay.
There you go. No, I'm kinder and gentler this morning.
Oh, okay.
One of the comments that it's in the application is this is temporary residency. And particularly, I've been to the park, I looked at it. I was concerned about the floodplain, seeing what, if any, activity had been taken to evacuate that area. And it looked like, fortunately, there was no damage, but nor did it look like anybody had moved any of those units, including the RVs. So when we talk about temporary residency, what is temporary?
Temporary is actually defined by statutes, and so you can't stay in one of these RV parks for more than 6 months, and then you have to move. They're not at all permanent residency, and that's the statute. So our LDC actually echoes that, as does the comprehensive plan, that it's 6 months and that's it, and that's all you can stay there. You cannot be a permanent resident. Now, right now, it has mobile homes on it too, so those mobiles, of course, are permanent.
Great, thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Worthington.
I just have a question. I don't even know if you'll know the answer to this. So Zone A was required to evacuate. Is this in Zone A?
I think it is. It's in the coastal high hazard, so I would
Yeah.
expect, honestly, I don't know at the top of my
Yeah, I
head, but
don't
it is the coastal high hazard area, so I think that might be.
It is.
I saw a reference
There you
for
go.
Zone AE.
Yeah, that's a flood zone, but then she's talking about the evacuation zone A, which I think corresponds to the CHHA, but I'm not positive. I apologize for that. Anything else?
Is that it?
Yay.
No, you got me.
Oh.
You're still on the
Nope,
hook.
nope, we're done, we're done.
They're easy.
That's fine.
One, can you just touch on your, the word of permanent mobile home that you just said?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that mobile homes were gonna be removed. and
They
then-
are. They are.
so-
Right now, if this isn't approved and they keep going as is, those mobiles can stay. But if this gets approved, the mobiles all go.
All right, and technical services, from what I read, it said the entrance should be 50-foot wide. And we made a concession here at 24-foot, even at the previous PDC hearing. And did I misread that?
It's pavement versus, 50-foot wide access easement is how they're currently accessing. It's a 50-foot wide easement with a 24-foot pavement. I think that's correct, yes. Yeah, pavement versus the easement
Okay.
area.
And then the last question, I just want to get your county's opinion on the treatment plant. You know, how does the county feel? I know how the health department
Right.
feels on that. I know how I feel, as being an environmentalist. I know how I feel on that, but you could change my heart and my
Well,
mind here.
Right. I'm not at all a utility analyst in any way, but I do rely on our staff and the state to do that. That would be something, those technical standards they would be reviewing before the RV park can open. RV park permits also go through environmental health, and boy, are they tight on this stuff. So I have assurances that those experts will review it. I don't. I'm looking at zoning, I'm looking at land development code and comp plan, and I trust them to deal with the sewer. If they feel the plan is not adequate, they're not going to approve the RV park to open. And that's where I rely.
So just say we'll give them approval to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Gets to the treatment plan and they can't do it as far as the treatment plant.
Right.
County still don't have capacity of the sewer. So the project, where does it lie?
I don't think that the county doesn't have capacity. They would have to upgrade some lift stations out there and some piping to do it. Or they could have to construct a new plant. So that's why the condition is very general, and they have to provide central. And central can be this plant, the county, a new expanded plant, whatever they have to do, they have to provide it.
So there's nothing budgeted, nothing set for this area that I can find. Do you know something that the sewer is being,
The utility said that the applicant would have to be the one to upgrade if they were gonna connect.
so they do upgrade to the existing
They would have
pipes
to
running?
upgrade for them to be able to accommodate this.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah, and they're the experts, I'm sure not.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I have a follow-up?
Commissioner Scherer.
Just one, I
You're
promise.
done too, no.
There, on page 48, there was a reference that said an office does not appear to be included, and that this would operate under the website check-in. Is there any concern about the fact that there'd be no one on staff on a, at least during an 8 to 5 business day basis? And then as a second follow-up, because I fibbed, because there's two, I didn't see any reference to on-site maintenance type buildings or structures for the repair, maintenance, storage of equipment, anything like that.
And I'm gonna have to let the applicant answer both of those. Those are operating type questions. Our land development code does not require an office. It's not something that's required, but those are good points as to daily operations. So if you don't mind me pulling him up here to answer those.
Sure, thanks.
Dr. Wilburn, all yours.
There is areas to the north, right here. There's about a 40 by 40 area, which could serve as a maintenance area. There's also a 60 by 60 area here, and some additional, it's about 100 feet south of this proposed rec building. There was some discussion about within this rec building going ahead and putting a small office. It's not required by LDC, as Ms. Coutu just said, so didn't specifically put it on this plan, but it could be certainly could be a possibility, though they wanted this to be a gated access and have an online platform. Right, yeah, and, yeah.
Talking off mic, and I apologize. Environmental health licenses RV parks, and they do regular inspections. And one of the things they look at is trash pickup, et cetera, and the ongoing maintenance. So that's something they would flag if they notice that.
All right, any other questions for the county, for the staff? Thank you, Joanna. All right, at this time, the public portion of the meeting will be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals will have 3 minutes and organizations will have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address the board. If you have any documentation that you would want to be entered into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone? No one? All right. Okay, at this time, I'm going to, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the hearing down. And I'll bring the discussion back to the board.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stone.
Talking to your mic.
Thank you.
The coastal and lakes designation for our county is one of the most valuable and ones that we have. That, and along with low-density residential, are two of the elements that distinguish, I think, Citrus County from other parts of the state. I think they're what makes us the nature coast, and continued encroachment upon them, particularly on pieces of property that abut the conservation area of St. Martin's Preserve, is not in keeping with the character of our county. I will not support this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Stone. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bramlett.
I am going to be in favor of this application, and I have a couple of different topics that I'd want to reach and talk about. The sewage, which has been mostly the topic of conversation here. I believe with an updated RV site, sometimes I feel like we get into the weeds with some of the particulars that are on a level that are even above the county staff that we're dealing with. One of those matters are especially environmental health. I know that you've dealt with that in the past. Environmental health is a very, very detailed and meticulous process to have to deal with. What I think that we need to look at here is we have a mobile home park that's been there for almost 40, 50 years with pipes that are laying across the ground. How many of those homes aren't even connected to their gray water? They have dish soap water, laundry water, all kinds of different things that we know that happens that hasn't been talked about and hasn't been looked at because this mobile home park is non-conforming, been in use for so long that the state oversight just isn't really there. So we have an opportunity right now to clean that up. And I don't mean clean it up in the terms of the way one of the commissioners says, the mobile home crime. Honestly, I sort of take offense to that for anybody that ever has lived in a mobile home, which I have. So to lump that all into one category, I feel you're sort of segregating an entire population of people that to me is unfair. So we have the opportunity. The sewage is going to be documented. They're going to be there. They're going to look at it. The state. This park will not be allowed to get into operation until that park or until that wastewater treatment facility is proven to be top-notch and in perfect performing condition. And then the other fact of it with the coastal lakes, I mean, we already have a mobile home park there. So what would be the other option? Then we just wait until the mobile homes, they fall apart or they get blown away, and then they're vested and they're going to put more mobile homes there. So I think we have the opportunity to clean this site up. They're doing much less than they can do or could do there. And with that said, I'm going to be in favor of this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Bramlett.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Worthington.
Thank you, Commissioner. I agree 100% with what Commissioner Bramlett has just said. I would only add that I also see the RV park as transient. So there was talk about the storm and Hurricane Helene. I've been down there for the past week. It's devastating. It's devastating. But the RVs, they have the opportunity to evacuate. You know, they can. If they don't, you know, there are people who do things we don't want them to do, and there's really not much we can do about that, but they have the opportunity. So I'll be supporting this application also.
Thank you, Commissioner Worthington.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Facemeyer.
I plan to support this application for the reasons articulated by Commissioners Bramlett and Worthington.
Thank you, Commissioner Facemeyer.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Shara.
I also plan to support this application. And to a fair comment, yes, we do get down in the weeds regarding some of these issues that probably go beyond our scope and even some of our knowledge. But the purpose in some cases is to get on public record by the developer that they acknowledge and are addressing these issues, and to make the job of staff at whatever level it would be more clear that this developer has firmly and positively stated they're going to address these issues. I was concerned when I didn't see the evacuation of that area. I was there on Saturday, and it didn't look like anybody had any particular concern. Not far from there was devastation. Yes, they have the opportunity to do it, and I don't know what the county codes are if someone refuses to do it and how they pay for those things, but that's, again, a different venue. So I'll support this. I realize it's transient, but I also realize that there are other RV parks being built in this area. We say we want, as a community and being consistent, we encourage tourism, and we encourage folks to come into this area. So this seems to make sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Shara.
For the
Commissioner
purpose of a
Bass.
motion,
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate what Commissioner Stone has said. I think he brought up some very valuable comments. However, I think that Mr. Bramlett brought up one that's probably a little bit more critical, and that is, by doing this, we'll get rid of that potential environmental hazard of those crazy pipes that are on the ground and, possibly, excuse me, causing unwanted pollution. And because of that, I will also be supporting this application.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Stone.
the existing mobile home park may have environmental issues with their infrastructure. Changing coastal and lakes designation to a mobile home is not the appropriate way to deal with that. The issues of the environmental facilities of the mobile home park should be handled as the mobile home park, not in changing our designations of our land use. There's much discussion in the newspaper about why does our county continue to allow encroachment upon the natural environment of this county. These are the decisions that you make now that will turn our county into something more resembling Pasco County instead of the Nature Coast. I think we should be aware of that, and each incremental encroachment on coastal and lakes, particularly as it abuts the conservation land, is how we would get to a bad spot. So I would encourage all my fellow commissioners to consider that when they make their vote.
Mr. Chair, for the purpose of a motion.
Commissioner Worthington, for the purpose of a motion.
The Planning and Development Commission finds application number CPA/AA/PUD-2024-00008 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval with conditions on the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a first from Commissioner Worthington, a second from Commissioner Shara.
And Mr. Chair, if we can just clarify, that includes the revised condition of making 24-foot wide internal.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add one thing before we take the vote. I don't have a problem getting into the weeds when it comes to environmental things, because the environmental things is what we hear, we live on. The problem that I have is when you have an applicant come to the podium and state that they had testimony or documentation concerning something as major as a treatment plant, but doesn't provide it to us to look at and review, to me, in some cases, are they hiding something? Are they not telling us something? They don't want us to know something? And that's startling to me, because if they do it to this board, I'm sure there's developers who do it all the way through. So I agree with Bramlett. The area, things to clean up, I believe it's 100% improvement from what is there, but I still will not support this. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay.
Nay.
4-3. Motion passes. Thank you.
It was Bass, Barnes, and Stone.
And, yeah, Barmas, Bass, and
Barnes, I
Stone.
apologize. Four, 4-3 approval.
Yep. All right. Thank you. That's time for PUD 2478 for Calvary Christian Center Assembly of God. If the applicant can come forward as we get the staff introduction, please.
Thank you. This application is a request to remove an expired planned unit development. This is a map of the subject property. This is a view of the subject property looking left and right along East Norval Bryant. This is looking east on East Norval Bryant Highway. This is looking west on East Norval Bryant Highway. This is looking across East Norval Bryant Highway at Hernando Elementary School. The master plan submitted by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, Sarah Case. I'm with Next Level Planning and Permitting. My address is 3825 South Florida Avenue. That is in Lakeland, zip code 33813. I am the authorized representative for Calvary Christian Center, who actually is in the audience with me today as well. If I could kind of give a little history lesson of why we're here today. If you recall, we were actually here before this body on June 20th, earlier this year, with a request for an Atlas amendment. So this particular piece of property was given PUD zoning in 2008 for an 118,000 square foot shopping center. So we proposed an Atlas amendment to change it, revert it back to the commercial zoning. But this board recommended that we actually come back before you with the plan development. So here we are. Oddly enough, we did submit a conceptual site plan, although it wasn't required with the Atlas amendment. So you see it before you again. We do show cross-access. That was something that came up in the hearing before you all on June 20th. So you'll see to the east of the site where Lemon Drive is. We are not proposing access on Lemon Drive, but we are proposing cross-access to the vacant piece of property that is immediately to our east. We have two access points on Norville Bryant. We are proposing one of those at the signalized intersection. So this PUD is requesting church and ancillary uses to a church on this currently vacant site. We are in receipt of staff's recommendations or conditions of approval, and we do agree with those. I would like to go on record to say there is a concurrent site plan review in-house for this facility, and that project number is PL 24125. A concurrency letter has been requested from Water Resources, and other than that, I would like to stand for any questions. We do respectfully ask for a favorable recommendation to the board. And again, my name is Sarah, and I will stand for any questions.
Does the staff have any questions for applicant?
Yes, sir. Looking at the master plan, it appears that you are requesting reduced buffers around the project. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And it seems that this project is of ample size to provide those buffers. Is that correct?
Yes. However, the site plan that you were looking at, I'm calling it conceptual, but it was prepared by our civil engineering team. So there's a method to the madness of the placement of the stormwater. And for to answer your question about ample room on the site, that may have to do with the plantings, and for whatever reason, we've asked for a deviation. The engineer, per their design, wanted a deviation from three of the setbacks, and then we've provided overcompensation on the east abutting commercial site by giving it a 15-foot buffer, and also on the west, where only a 5-foot is required by code. So
Thank you.
those deviations are explained in the staff report and with approval from the staff report.
All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Joe. Does the board have any questions for applicant? Commissioner Facemeyer.
I know we discussed this question at our last hearing, last time you were before this board, but can you explain the odd-shaped piece of that parcel that shoots up to the north?
So that is the lot of record that our site is comprised. So we have no, that was just how the parcel was.
Just the way it was?
That was the way it was, and when the church bought the
It's
property.
just very odd-shaped.
It is, and when the church bought the property in '22, that it was what it was. I remember from June, there was some comment from the audience that had some concern that we would be proposing ingress egress there just because of the way that's shaped. But I can assure you that there is none proposed, and we
Your
will
plan
not
is
be.
just to leave it vacant.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Facemeyer. Any other questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Commissioner Bramlett.
On the, I guess it would be the north side, which is the top of this particular conceptual site plan. It looks like it says there are three 12-foot wide alleys, roads. Those are going to be access roads, I'm guessing. Is that like bus lanes, or then it also leads to your cross access that you have on the northeast corner where the little stump out or stub out is?
Can I go over there to?
Yes.
Bring a mic.
Grab the microphone there, please. Thank you.
Is that what you're referring to?
On the top, those 3 lanes, you see those 3 lanes on the top
Oh.
of that gray, is that considered roads, access roads?
Okay, so they are internal, and they are for queuing, they are for vehicle movement.
Okay.
As you know, a church facility and campus, their busiest, their peak basically would be Sundays and Wednesdays. And in phase 2, when the proposed school buildings come in, that would be to safely move and circulate traffic around the site. Obviously, we are in no comparison like a public educational facility, but it's proposed just for safe vehicle movement internal to the site.
So, to follow up on that, the deviation that you're asking for, the staff has the report, which is the LDC standard, and one of the areas that you're looking for a deviation is from that particular location to the north. And they have an asterisk on here. It says 25-foot type D buffer with a wall if roads, drives, or parking areas are located within 125 feet of the residential lots. So we know to the north of that is a residential lots.
Correct.
That's a residential neighborhood. What we don't know is, are your roads more than 125 feet away from those residential lots? Because based on my quick math and interpretation of this particular plan, they are not. And if they are not, then I would say that, like Mr. Hockedell mentioned, you have sufficient space to put the buffers in, and that they should be put in without the deviation.
Okay, we will definitely consider that. And if it's not mentioned in our application, then we're not asking for a deviation. So we were assuming putting a wall and complying with all the development regulations. So we may not have shown a wall on there, but by omission, we would be complying with land development regs. You're saying you do not want to give us that flexibility of a decreased buffer?
Correct. If you're gonna have roads, drives, or parking areas abutting a residential lot area, then
Within
it needs
100
to be a 25-foot type D buffer with a wall. You have two areas that appear to be asking for only a 15-foot type C, which does not include a wall. That would be on your east abutting the
Right.
residential PDR, and on your north abutting residential MDR.
Could I defer to staff to answer that when there is relief provided when there's a request for a deviation from standard?
There's not really anything staff can provide. We're going to do our presentation after you, so
Okay, thank you.
Will you be addressing that item?
we'll be addressing buffers, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bramlett. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Get the staff to come forward for their staff presentation, please.
Good morning, Melissa Morris, planner. I'll be presenting PUD 2478. This project did come before you as an Atlas amendment. It was a request to remove the expired PUD, and it was continued to come back as a PUD application. The applicant is now requesting a PUD amendment to allow for a house of worship and associated school buildings, athletic fields, open space, and parking. This is a site of the subject property. As aerial view of the subject property, you can see, let's see here, there is a wholesale commercial nursery. Behind to the north is all residential. Over here is additionally residential, and then there is a Hernando Elementary School. They brought up North Cross Avenue. There is a signal there, and they are proposing to take access using that signal. This is a zoning map, and you can see again where the property abuts residential. This is the submitted master plan with the school buildings, athletic field, and parking. And then this is where our buffer requirements come in. Although, this could be a less intense use than the approved 118,000 square foot retail development, staff feels that buffers meeting the LDC requirements would go a long way to reduce any noise and or lighting from the athletic fields and after-hour school activities. So on the north, abutting residential, it requires a 25-foot type D with a wall, and they are proposing a type C buffer of 15 feet. And over here on the east side, where it does abut residential, it also requires a 25-foot D with a wall, and they are proposing a type C. On the east, abutting GNC, it's required a 5-foot sodded strip, and they are proposing an upgraded type C 15-foot. And then on the south, abutting East Norval Bryant, it is required to have a 25-foot type C buffer, and they're proposing a 10-foot type A. And on the west, they are also above LDC standards with the type C 15-foot buffer.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions for staff?
I'm not sure if this is the time to say so. We are in agreement with staff's recommendation. And their condition was basically, we need to be in compliance with LDC Section 5400 with the landscape buffer types and the tree preservation. So we agree to that. So therefore, we will comply with what the Land Development Code says, what staff just demonstrated to you.
So your testimony right there is that you're not asking for a deviation for buffers?
Not anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Shara.
Good morning. I want to focus on concurrency for sewer and potable water. Is there any reason that that we should not require the applicant to agree to tie into the force main for sanitary sewer and the potable water for potable water?
They are a far enough distance that they are not required to connect. It does appear from their submitted master plan that they do propose those connections.
They do?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yes.
read that correctly then. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Bass.
Under the parking standards, it talks about deviation. Parking requirements are unknown as seating and building capacity have not been provided at this time. Does staff have a concern with what they are showing that maybe they're overparked, seeing as we don't know what their final usage will be as far as the number of people being there, and we could actually reduce how much impervious surface we have? Shouldn't that have been something that was provided to us before we make our decision, so that we really know, do we really have the best plan possible for the county?
That was not submitted, and the phase 2 is going to be the school building, so until they are built and have capacity numbers, we will not know how much parking there is and how much parking is needed. Once permitted, it will have to meet LDC standards. As far as overparking, as long as they're within ISR compliance, additional parking is allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bass, mine was just the opposite of that. I thought they were under parking. I thought they might need more parking considering the square footage of the 3 schools and the church, but who am I? My question for you, Melissa, is that the north access or cross access going out to Lemon, I know they haven't indicated that it's going to actually be a true entrance for the school, but being a cross access, isn't the school and the church okay to use that access to Lemon Street, or is that just going to be a blocked off emergency access? Because we have.
They're proposing future step out for future connection
For, not for their use, but for,
later on if a commercial parcel is developed adjacent to that. So it would be future cross-access, is my understanding, correct? Yes.
thank you.
Mr. Chair? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I follow up with another
And
question?
Commissioner Bass.
Are the requirements going to be that a sidewalk be constructed across the entire frontage of this parcel when it's developed?
That is not required. It's something that could be conditioned. But
Okay.
there is, there's not currently sidewalks up, in front of it. There's a large gap where the sidewalks would not meet.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Shara.
Hey, good morning again. Just for clarification, I'm looking for the page in the presentation that shows the zoning. And,
Would you like me to go back to that slide?
yeah, would you please?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Whoop,
Oh,
I
sorry,
skipped
went too
by it.
far.
Okay, for clarification, I didn't understand the comment that they were seeking cross-access to the commercial process, or, I'm sorry, parcel to the east. And we're also then talking about the stub of that parcel that goes up to Lemon. So can we clarify exactly what they're referring to for cross-access? Is it going to be across that red area, which is GNC, over to the entrance road for the community?
So
Or
the-
is it actually off of Lemon?
It is actually off of Lemon,
Which is commercial.
and it is just a stub out. So future development would connect to that. We wouldn't know at this point in time where and when.
So theoretically, yeah, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we were requested by staff to provide that cross-access for the commercial part for future development because it is vacant. We did not show that originally on our conceptual, and we were advised to do so. And if we go back to the actual site plan, excuse me. So that Lemon Street is substandard anyway, so we're just showing it as green space. Where we're showing cross-access, you have a different plan than I did. There, okay, I was like, wait a minute. Where that cross-access is, and staff's note to the far right, there is the buffer, which will increase now with the wall. But we are not showing anything accessing north. So should the property develop that is vacant to us to the east, they would not be using Lemon either, because that's our property, and it's part of a buffer of we're showing green space there. That's our property per the property appraiser's office ownership of that. So they would not ever access Lemon either when they get developed. But am I incorrect, staff? Was that not a requirement that we?
Yeah, just to clarify, Melissa, I'm sorry. The PDR in that area by Lemon, is that commercial or is that residential? Do you know?
Where the Lemon connection is.
Can you go to I'm sorry.
Where the cross-access would be, that would not be commercial.
Okay, so the Land Development Code and the comp plan do require that they have access on both GNC lots on either side on 486. What they're asking for instead, they have it on the west side there, but on the east side, they're planning on doing that little stub out to Lemon rather than a cross-access down here. And you heard her just say that's because they have green space on that border where the cross-access should be. If you can pull up the site plan again. Yeah, so next to that track, somewhere along that property line, they should be along 486 having cross-access. They do not.
Mr. Chair.
Can I say I'm still confused?
No.
And I am. The applicant has said they desire two access points onto Norval Bryant. And all that will be confirmed in a traffic study. So with staying out of the weeds regarding separation and all those issues.
Right.
My question, I recall from our previous meeting that Lemon is off a residential street.
Yes, they're proposing their cross-access right now. They have to have cross-access to commercial, not to residential. But the access right there is actually to a commercial area, a residential area.
And I'm not sure that that's a public road or a private road. That was another question.
Right, it's not, I think it's not built at this time. I don't know if it's platted even.
Well, not Lemon itself. Lemon is just an unimproved little
Right.
dirt track, but I'm talking about the road going back into Canterbury, where Lemon comes off of.
Yeah, well, they can't access that at all because the code is simply going to require they connect on either side to commercial along 486. Where they put it is up to them. But in this case, they're not doing it on the east side. They're actually instead doing one way north up into what looks like residential.
So is that permitted or not?
Only if the board approves it, but it's not meeting land development code.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Worthington.
the reason for cross-access or a frontage road is to have less turns on and off major highways, to reduce traffic
Vehicle conflict.
incidents. Yes, so having it where you have it on this site plan makes no sense to achieve that goal. So that's what everybody's getting at.
Okay,
Ms. Worthington. Thank you. We're making a planner out of you yet.
so because of the zoning, I believe we took it literally that we needed to have cross-access to the east and to the west of our sites because they're both vacant properties. So we would need to reorient if we were to provide cross-access by code in that commercial area. We need to figure that out from a safety perspective for our campus, for the future phase. And I do want to remind you, as I mentioned earlier, this site plan is in engineering, in plan review right now. So I guess what I'm asking is for the use of the site as this PUD for this church and related uses as a PUD, because you all did not feel comfortable with me reverting the property back to its commercial zoning prior to the PUD in '08 for a retail center. So I don't want to get caught up in the weeds on, I mean, I'm on record saying we are not ever going to access Lemon. We own that little strip. We are not using it to access. We're not going to let anybody else. Code tells us we have to provide cross-access to commercial on either side. We're not showing it in the proper location, and so we don't need a deviation to provide
I'm
cross-access to
sorry,
residential.
Mr. Chair. Listen,
Commissioner
I don't know where we
Worthington.
are in this process. I think she was supposed to be asking staff questions, and now we're having this long discussion. I think we got a little out of order.
Yes, I agree. So,
Sorry.
Are you still presenting? I'm sorry. Okay.
thank you for the clarification, Sarah. Melissa, I do have a question for you. In the previous PUD overlay, there was sidewalks required along Norvell Bryant. And you just said that they weren't required to have sidewalks running along Norvell Bryant to the south of that property. Is that something that was removed? Is that not part of general construction to have a sidewalk, especially in front of a school? Where in the world are these kids gonna be walking, down Norvell Bryant?
I think you made a statement that there's not sidewalks running in front of this, but it's nearby. So the code generally does not require it unless they're there or it's an area where we know road widening is coming. There's two criteria, neither one of them are here. That does not mean the board cannot say we should, and I agree that the school across the street is definitely one of the items. But, I don't know.
Well, this is gonna be a school too.
Yes.
School and a church, so they
That's
should.
what I was thinking, well, maybe they're actually in
That's what threw
competition
me
with
off,
each
is
other.
they should have sidewalks in front of there.
The board can add sidewalk requirements, but right now it does not run in front, so they do not have to do it by code.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Bass.
I agree with you 100% on the sidewalk, because I was actually going to ask that we add a condition that be done, because looking down the road as we continue to develop out there, if the parcel to the west becomes developed and we have to put sidewalks in front of there, now we want sidewalks in front of this parcel, who's going to pay for that at that point in time? It's now going to be on the county, whereas if the developer's coming in now, we should put it on them to build in front of their parcel. So I was going to ask that that be a condition, so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
that
they gotta
sidewalks
cut
should
out
be
the
part of
aprons.
this.
They already gotta cut out the aprons and curb it. So I agree with that, Commissioner Bass. Any other questions for Melissa? For
I
the
have
county?
one, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Worthington.
Melissa, can we work out with conditions that, I mean, because, you know, could we work out with conditions, you know, that they have to put the cross-access where it's supposed to be and approve this plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Madam Attorney,
Is this working?
No.
you might have to scream loud.
Oh, I sound loud?
No.
So say, talk loud.
Oh, okay. Okay, what I was gonna say is we haven't had a morning comfort break yet. Perhaps when you're done with this application, before you're ready to take a vote, you could take a brief recess for a comfort break, and staff can work with the applicant on the language to incorporate some of the thoughts that have been expressed.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Any other questions for the staff? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Before we take public, before we open the podium up to the public, we will take a brief 10-minute recess, and we'll adjourn back at 10:35.
Let's do
All right, welcome back. Would you like me, county?
Yeah, so we'll
staff?
continue our presentation, thank you, and I appreciate the county attorney's suggestion. That was a perfectly timed break. So after discussion with the applicant, and we'll have them stand up if you don't mind, and when we talk about this, they are willing to add a condition. This would be a bullet for condition number 11, which is technical services. Cross-access to the general commercial site to the east will be provided along County Road 486. We would also add a condition that a minimum 4-foot wide sidewalks will be provided along County Road 486. And we also would add a condition that says there's no access to Lemon Drive. That's that little thing going up. Finally, as far as buffers, there already is a condition in there that they will meet LDC requirements. The applicant has agreed to that. So it will require some redesign on their side, but not significant other than a cross-access, which they say they can accommodate, but we can hear from them if you don't mind.
All right, I just one question for you, Joanna. That you make that change, but she also made a testimony that this conceptual plan was at engineering. And what if they approved that? What would that take?
They will
us?
not approve it because it's a permit. I'm not really sure what she's talking about, but I think she might be talking about an access management analysis for turn lanes. We don't have a permit approved in any way until this is approved.
All right, great, thank you. Sarah?
The other mic is missing. I missed that.
Yeah,
It's
if you
Eric
can-
and.
Eric, please,
We
thank
need your
you.
mic back.
Well, if this one's working,
Oh, is
Oh,
it?
perfect, okay.
thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, again, for the record, Sarah Case, Next Level Planning and Permitting. The application number that I provided it's the engineering plans that are submitted being reviewed by the county, contingent obviously upon approval by this board and BOCC, but there's plans in-house for review, so that's the case number that I referenced. So we did have an opportunity, thank you very much for that break, we did have an opportunity to discuss, just as staff said. The civil engineering plans actually do show sidewalks along the highway there, so that is, we are definitely in agreement with that in that condition. And then cross-access to be shown between commercial, but your wording was, Joanna, on
To the general
on
commercial
highway?
parcel to the east on County Road 486, yes.
So we don't, okay, I just want to make sure, literally, we do not have to provide cross-access on 46, but to the commercial parcel.
Right, it's
on.
just somewhere along your property boundary that abuts commercial on 486. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And you already done it on the west side, that'll have to continue, but on the east side.
So, again, I don't know if this is the forum to do so, but during the break, I was able to get some information from the pastor. And on specifically the north side of our property are some, he was saying, beautiful 100-year oaks. And the concern was they're like right on his property line, or like just off the property line. So I believe the concern was the setback was requested there as a deviation in the wall. However, one of the conditions before you all today that we're agreeing to is the tree preservation study that is required. So we are in agreement to all of the buffers that are required by code. But in the event that the tree study comes back, that these are viable oaks, what is then the process? Because we don't want to waste your time coming back here. What is that process if they're found to be viable and we
Right.
would have to cut them down?
Obviously, conserving existing vegetation is preferred, absolutely, but you need a 25-foot buffer there anyway, so your oaks can be part of that 25-foot buffer. And if they're not viable, then you'll have to plant a 25-foot buffer.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that. So with that said, we are in agreement with those additional recommendations from staff.
All right. Thank you. Melissa, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I do not.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, Commissioner Bass.
I forgot to ask you this earlier. Previous condition 9 was a gopher tortoise removal permit from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is required prior to site approval or land clearing. Why was that taken out? I assume that we must still have gopher tortoises there.
She can
If-
answer. Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, so that was taken out because there's no proof that there are gopher tortoises there, but that will be addressed in their biological
Okay.
survey, which is required for any parcel over 5 acres.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, great, thank you. No further questions. At this time, the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address the board. If you have any documentation that you want to be entered into record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ernesto Rubio, and I'm a resident of Citrus County. So first of all, let me just say that it looks like you took care of most of the things that we had concerns. One was the buffer with the wall, so I'm glad to hear that that is going to go into place. The access from to Lemon, so hearing that that will not be accessed, that's a wonderful thing because Lemon is really not a road, it's a private access right now, and it doesn't look like it's ever going to get any better. The sidewalks was also a concern on 486. We do have sidewalks to the east, so putting those sidewalks in, it will eventually, once all the properties are developed, we'll have good sidewalks. As being your health officer previously for your county health department, sidewalks are very important to our communities, so I'm glad to see that you've included those. The only concerns that we really have, which will be addressed by the traffic study, are the 2 accesses to 486, but that can't be addressed at this time, so because we're concerned of coming out of the Canterbury Lakes and trying to make that turn into 46. Sometimes currently now, we might have to wait quite a bit of time to let the traffic go by so that we can get out and make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn. So we appreciate everything that you've done. Just want to let you know that we agree with a lot of your actions today, so thank you.
Thank you.
Tito, I almost didn't recognize you with this relaxed, retired look.
Next speaker. Anyone else? All right, this time I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting down. I'm going to bring the discussion back to the board.
I think the applicant has rebuttal.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry, this,
Do
I'm
you
trying to
have
get in a hurry.
Any comments to that? No? She's shaking
Yep.
her head no.
I knew that, that's why I went ahead.
All right, good
Just
job.
kidding.
Mine either.
All right, great. Any comments from the commission or motion, something?
Just getting back to the buffers, based on one of the comments that was just made on the north property line, it sounds like there's some very serious trees that are along there that certainly will help with the buffer. Do we want to require that wall to be built along that property line if we have these nice old oak trees that could possibly end up having to be removed in order to put the wall up? I think we should.
I think minor deviations are allowed.
Yeah, the wall actually isn't put up on the property line. They have a buffer. So the wall is actually
So you're gonna put the
interior.
buff-
Right,
fine.
right.
I just don't, I would hate to see these beautiful trees go down if we don't have to have them go down.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we always will encourage.
All right, thank you. I'm good then.
All right, any other comments from the commission?
For the purpose of a motion.
Commissioner Worthington.
Okay, where am I? Oops, sorry, I thought I was ready. Planning and Development Commission finds application number PUD 2478 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval with conditions of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition.
Second.
So we have a first by Commissioner Worthington and a second by Commissioner Bass. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just clarify, is that would be amended conditions, the additional ones?
Yes.
Sorry.
For the record, Joanne, can you please read the conditions, the amended conditions?
The additional conditions, we're adding number 11, cross access to the general commercial site to the east along County Road 46 is required. Minimum 4-foot wide sidewalks are required along County Road 486. There will be no access to Lemon Drive.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair, this is scheduled for November 7th at 5:15 PM with the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, now it's time for application AA-2024-00008, William Williams and Shannon Snook. If the applicants can come forward while we get the introduction, please.
Thank you. This application proposes to amend the LDC Atlas map for mobile home designation. A map of the subject property. This is a view of the subject property. This is looking north on North Fernandina Avenue. This is looking south on South Fernandina Avenue. This is looking east from the east. This is looking east from the subject property. This is looking west on North Fernandina Avenue. And this is the site plan submitted by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Yeah. Good morning. Come to the podium and,
This is a first for me.
all right. I'll just-
My name is Shannon Snook. I am, I hit a button, property owner of 7591 North Fernandina Avenue. My family began coming here several years ago to Scallop. We fell in love with the area and the people. I'm currently in Lee County, Florida, 3.5 hours away. My mother-in-law had purchased property and is currently living off of Ozella Trail. She's getting up there in age, where we really need to be closer to her. 3.5 hours is too much at the moment. So we bought these 2 lots on North Fernandina. And as we drove around the neighborhood when we were looking at the property, we had noticed there was a mixture of site-built homes, modulars, manufactured homes. We went ahead and purchased the property. We had found a manufactured home that we had fallen in love with that fits our family needs to a T. When we went to see about having it put on the property, we found out that we were zoned rural, not rural manufactured. We came to the zoning department to see what we could do to possibly have it rezoned because we are currently amongst a handful of lots that are zoned rural and everything around us is rural manufactured. So we were looking to see if we could possibly have it rezoned to fit what we're looking to place. We're looking to do both lots because we figured in the future my mother-in-law would need to be coming and staying closer with us. And actually with the storms that have happened over off of Ozella Trail, if this gets approved, she will be moving in hopefully closer to us sooner than later.
All right. Does staff have any questions to the applicant?
No, sir.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stone.
Will this remain 2 separate lots, or will you combine them to one?
Well, right now, through the appraiser's office, we pay taxes on it as a whole. Our intention is to keep it as the 2 lots.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Snook. Get the staff come forward for the staff presentation, please.
Good morning. Kelly Gaudill, planner. This is also a first for me.
We'll be nice to you.
Please do.
This is an application to change the zoning of this property from rural to rural mobile homes allowed. This is the map showing the proposed site, the property in question. Aerial view of the property. These pictures show the mix that is in the area. These are houses directly across the street from the subject property. One is a modular, one is a mobile. This is also a site-built single family on the same street. This shows the 16 lots that are zoned just rural, not rural mobile homes allowed. Around this area, outside of this 16 lots, it's all zoned rural mobile homes are allowed. And another view showing basically the entire area does allow for mobile homes. And the proposed site plan. Any questions?
Does the applicant have any questions for staff? Does the board have any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner
Is a-
Scherer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is a modular home and a mobile home fall in the same category under the LDC?
No, a modular home is on a permanent foundation, and a mobile home is not.
And in this particular case, are they requesting a change to modular home or mobile home?
They're requesting mobile homes be allowed here, which is generally what's surrounding those 16 lots. So it would be compatible to the area to allow for a mobile home there.
Thank you.
Can we get a clarification from Commissioner Stone's question about the 2 lots?
Yes, definitely. So they are 2 separate lots, and the intention is to keep them 2 separate lots. If they were to combine into 1 lot, then the secondary mobile home would be limited in size. So keeping them 2 separate lots, the mother-in-law could move on to the second lot and have a regular sized mobile home.
All right, and my last question is just, and I'm sure I know the answer to this, was all the property owners in the area notified of this hearing?
Yes.
Thank you. Other question? Commissioner Facemeyer.
One question. If this application is approved and the applicant puts a mobile home on this 1 lot of 2 lots, will the applicant be required to meet the setbacks as if it were 2 separate lots? In other
Yes.
words,
Yes, because they are they're going to remain 2 separate
okay,
lots.
yeah,
They will.
I had in my mind that, an applicant could possibly put it up close to the property line and not meet code.
They will still have to meet the minimum required setbacks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You did a good job on your first time.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'm going to open the public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes, organizations have 5 minutes, and when speaking on this application, please address the board. If you have any documentation that you want to be entered into record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone? Anyone? No one. All right, this time I'm going to close the public portion of the hearing down, bring them back to the board for further discussions.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Worthington.
Okay, so a manufactured home or modular home would be permitted in this area because they're considered like a site-built home, but mobile homes are not. But there's mobile homes all around, and there's no one here to put up any discontent with this rezoning. So my thing is, did people that put up modulars just put modulars up because that's what they were told they could do, and then now we're making changes on her behalf, and then is it going to create friction? I don't know. I'll listen to you guys.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I asked that question, because we have nobody here in opposition. I did do a site visit around the neighborhood, and I did see mobile homes, modular homes, and site-built homes, so that's why I brought the question up. Commissioner Scherer.
Mr. Chair, looking at this and also visiting the area and then studying the maps, it does seem to be consistent with the, with the feel of the neighborhood. So I would have no objection to this.
Commissioner
Chair.
Bramlett.
As a real estate agent, I would tell you that I don't really know why there are 16 lots in the middle of this mini farms area. I've sold multiple properties out there. There was a reason somewhere in time that they created and put these 16 lots as designated for RUR only, not MH. And if I was a property owner living next door or anywhere in and around where these were, and I found out that that the county was going to approve a down zoning next to my property, I would be upset. I don't understand why there aren't any here. I can't speak for that. I could tell you that if it was next to mine, I would 100% be here. And as a realtor in Citrus County, I would not be in favor of down zoning this property.
Thank you, Commissioner Bramlett. Anyone else? Motion for anybody?
Mr. Chair, for
Com-
purpose of a motion,
Commissioner Shara.
the Planning and Development Commission finds application number AA-2024-00008 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval of the application of the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
Got a first by Commissioner Shara, second by Commissioner Bass. Any further discussion from the commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Aye.
Bramblett.
Nay.
Yes.
Mr.
Nay.
Bass. Ms.
Aye.
Worthington. Mr. Facemeyer. And Mr. Stone.
Aye.
Those were way too fast. I missed it all now. One more time. Mr. Shara.
A.
Mr.
Nay.
Bramblett.
Aye.
Mr. Barmez.
Nay.
Bass. Worthington.
Aye.
Mr. Facemeyer. And Mr. Stone.
Aye.
Thank you.
Appears it passed 4-3, am I
Yes,
correct?
Yes. Thank you.
The
so
motion
much.
carries 4-3. And it goes to the county commissioner November.
November 7th, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Snook. So next thing on our agenda is we need to approve the
New meeting dates.
PDC meetings for 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second?
So we've got a motion approved by Commissioner Bass, second by Commissioner Facemeyer. All in favor for the dates in 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any staff announcements?
Your next meeting in 2 weeks, we have 2 applications, and both of the ones in November have 4 applications right now on them. We're continuing to see a lot of interest, a lot of development. She's already left. Ms. Cottle did very well for her first one. We still have one more planner to bring before you that is not presented to you, so we'll see him in a month or 2. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Landon, you have anything to add? No, sir. You know I was
have
going to pick on you.
something. I have something, please.
Commissioner Worthington.
Thank you. If you all would be so kind, if you can help with any of the relief efforts going on after Hurricane Helene down at the Civic Club in Homosassa, we have volunteers and people it's a central hub for donations, and I know in Ozello they have the same thing, and they're set up at Daystar for Crystal River. The United Way has been a very good help and partner for us. Free ice was finally delivered to Homosassa today. So if you know anyone that was waiting for that, it is now available. Steve Howard has a funny sense of humor. He did tell me they were moving it down to across from the Civic Club. I don't know if he's joking or not, but I think they're moving it. I think it's going to be in Old Homosassa this afternoon. So keep checking the county website and Facebook pages for updates and help anybody any way you can. That's it.
All right, well, you took some of my mojo, because I was going to put a shout out to the sheriff's office, all the first responders, and the many volunteers that I see out there every day volunteering to help the county and the county residents get back on their feet. And I was going to ditto same thing you just said about volunteers. Some of us are very fortunate we had no damage So that those of us that have no damage, it wouldn't hurt to go out and volunteer for a couple hours, even if it's just one day a week. The residents and the business owners would certainly appreciate it. And that's all I have.
Mr. Chair, to do that, do we need to call anyone in advance or just
I
show
do
up?
not call anyone. I just show up and say, I'm here to help. One
But
arm.
Mr. Chair, there is
Yes.
a county
Call Commissioner
designee.
Worthington. She'll put you in.
There is a county designee on Facebook, Lori, I can't remember her last name. Does anybody know? She's coordinating volunteer efforts.
Great, thanks.
Or I could put you to work.
You might want to call the other girl. All right, no further business. Meeting is adjourned.